No two people with autism are the same. However, they often share certain characteristics. You may notice odd behaviours or mannerisms and poorly developed social skills. If they can speak, the speech may be monotonous, too loud, mechanical, or odd in some other way. They often don't seem to easily understand colloquial speech or know when or how to respond appropriately. To work out effective ways of working with such people, we need to understand a little about why they respond the way they do and what they are thinking. As teachers, by the time we get to meet them, they've already spent years developing their own strategies for coping with their lives. These often manifest as inappropriate behaviours such as rituals or fixations, or other odd behaviours which present barriers to learning. These will need to be addressed as soon as the teacher-student relationship has developed into one of mutual respect and trust. Always remember this: all behaviour is communication. Listen to what your observations are telling you. Observe every detail of their relationship with people, the environment, and the world in general. Withhold judgment and avoid drawing conclusions based on face value. Often, a person with autism longs to understand and be understood, but does not have the innate ability to impart this in a usual socially acceptable way. The element from which springs most of the odd behaviour and responses is the peculiar way in which they perceive the world. To them, it is a confusing and sometimes scary place, where the gamut of environmental information is received through the senses as a sort of white noise. A bombardment of auditory, visual, tactile stimuli which they don't have the capacity to adequately sort in terms of relevance to their circumstances. This may even be the reason that some are hypersensitive to light, sound or touch. Therese Joliffe, an adult with autism, said, "Reality to an autistic person is a confusing, interacting mass of events, people, places, sounds and sights. There seems to be no clear boundaries, order or meaning to anything. A large part of my life is spent just trying to work out the pattern behind everything." Individuals with autism don't automatically know what it is important to focus on or what is relevant in a given situation. They don't make obvious connections between events, things and people. They don't instinctively generalise from one situation or place to another. They can't recognise the meaning of common social cues, such as tone of voice or facial expression. Because of the confusion and lack of understanding, they often display a preference for routine, rigid structure and an insistence on sameness. This makes them feel safe, secure and relatively comfortable. It is for this reason that they frequently develop reliance on meaningless rituals and exhibit extreme aversion to change. But despite all their difficulties, people with autism can be taught. It takes a great deal of warmth, patience and understanding on the part of the teacher. The learning environment should be as free from distractions and clutter as possible, and the atmosphere should be kept calm. Instructions and conversation should be in simple language, in short, uncomplicated sentences, with no extraneous adjectives which may obscure the meaning. It's a good idea to deal with behaviour problems first, as they may otherwise present obstructions to the learning process. This should be done gently, preferably by trying to replace the unwanted behaviour with a more appropriate and relevant similar behaviour. Remember that this person is probably used to failure and is used to hearing the same exasperated response to their failure repeatedly. So don't respond the way you think most people would. You need to gain their confidence and trust. They will be most at ease if you follow a predictable schedule. Also remember that verbal language is difficult for them, so use visual aids, photos, pictographs, etc. Break tasks down into single steps. Bear in mind that what seems obvious to you, such as a particular consequence of an action, may be unclear to them. Build on their strengths and underplay their weaknesses. Don't lose sight of the long-term goal, which is to help them to become as confident, independent and self-reliant as possible. Be mindful of not creating too strong a dependence on you personally. so they may be free to reach their full potential. It is an enormous challenge, but the rewards can be life-changing.